I think there's this big misconception, especially among people who rap or even sing, that you can be a good singer, a good rapper, a good anything, but that doesn't mean you're good at making music. There's a really big difference between creating a piece of work that people are going to listen to versus, oh, you can rap. And so the first few years, I could rap in the sense of I could make words rhyme on a beat in time in varying ways that was sort of sonically interesting. But I had no idea about like what made a good song, like what do people listen for. It's kind of like when you go into an art gallery and you see a painting and all you're looking at is the shape of one part of that painting rather than the overall composition. And that's what I was doing. So I was just looking at the rhyme structures and like the lyrics, and that is very important. And I still to this day think that that's my strength, but there's so much more to it. Like I would rap over beats where it didn't make sense. Like I wouldn't really be thinking about how my voice interacted with the music. I wouldn't be thinking about how the music makes someone feel in a very instinctual way. And so I didn't really have a grasp at any of these concepts. And I don't think you necessarily, and that's what I'm saying, like you get really technically amazing musicians who don't get those concepts either. It's a very different skill than, and by the opposite token, you get people who are completely self-taught producers, musicians, whatever, who just get it, who get that music is about emotion and the kind of things that people want to listen for isn't, you know, oh wow, this guy played like, I don't know, a fucking complex jazz arpeggio. They're listening for, oh, I mean, some people are listening for that, and sometimes I'm listening for that, but that's like a specific interesting, rather than I'm trying to create a feeling here. And so it took a long time to get that, and so I made so many songs, which is just fucking awful, because I just had no, and don't get it twisted, everyone you like or know, or anyone that anyone knows or likes or knows, has made millions of, not millions, but so many terrible songs. It's just part of the process. So that was a lot of the where I was falling down musically, was not understanding that it's about how people feel and how you compose something that can create a feeling.
So how do you do that? How do you make something that invokes a certain type of response or emotion?
Good question. So I think, again, this is getting into the kind of how I view composition. And again, I'm musically untrained, so I'm sure there are more kind of musically refined ways of talking about these concepts, but this is the way I've come across it. So I think any song that you ever listen to, no matter what, has a soul of a song. And that is a thing, maybe that's a set of chords. So when Tiny Dancer Elton John plays, you immediately feel something, right? You immediately feel these chords are sad, these chords are happy, these chords are melancholy, right? And so the challenge is so say, for example, hip hop does a lot of sampling and I do a lot of sampling. And the point of a sample is I'm picking an emotion, I'm picking a soul from another song and I'm repurposing it to create an emotion for me. So the point there is that once you have that soul of the song, so for example, Black Skinhead, Kanye West, the soul of that song is aggressive drums. Immediately you hear aggressive drums, you feel like, oh shit, I'm about to get attacked, but like in a good way. Do you know what I mean? It's aggressive. And so once you grasp that, then it's like, there are so many tools out there to help you. So for example, there's a tool, which I can't, anyone from Justin Bieber to your like local SoundCloud rapper uses this tool. It's called Splice. It's royalty-free samples. So what that means is that before, like, you know, if I wanted to sample something, I had to pay, you know, Gladys Knight fucking £2 million to sample her music, which like, obviously I can't do, but Splice, royalty-free samples. So musicians from all around the world will put their music up there, like literally a 5-second clip of like a little guitar riff, a little keyboard, whatever. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of little sounds, but that they essentially put up little versions of little moments that you can pick at. And so I can now what a lot of how I'll start a song, I won't always do this, but I work with the producer, we'll literally go through Splice samples or start playing around with some chords and be like, does that make me feel anything? Do I like those chords? And then you start from there. And then so you see, so I'm releasing a song December 11th, and it has this little guitar riff. And the moment I heard that guitar riff, I was like, I love it, because without thinking about it, your body just feels something. And the chances are, if I react to it and be like, "Ooh, that's cool," then somebody else is going to do that as well. And then once you have that soul of a song, they're like, you know, there's the mechanical bit of like, okay, what kind of, do I want to make this more upbeat? Do I want to make this more downbeat? And I guess all of that, again, sounds so much more planned than it actually is. Because of course, like, those thoughts are going through my head when I make a song, but a studio seems like this really pristine environment with lots of fancy technology, but and that's just the way you create it. But in reality, it's a lot more like an art studio, you know, like GCSE art, where you're in a studio and there's just like paint everywhere, and there's, you know, splashes of failed ideas on the wall. That is what making music is like as well. It just doesn't look like that because the technology is all fancy, and you have LED lights and a cool guy in a fucking jacket, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like that environment of just fucking throw shit at the wall. But that's what it's like as well. So many times you'll start a song, you'll have like, oh, I think this is the soul of the song, and you'll be like, oh, add this, and I'll be like, actually, man, fuck this, I'm not feeling it, let's start again. So like, it's a lot more trial and error than I think people realize. And again, I wish more people did realize that, because then they wouldn't beat themselves up and feel like, oh, I can't do this, because you don't get eureka moments the moment you start trying to make something.
I mean, that's just creativity as a whole, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about trying something, and a lot of it's going to go wrong. A lot of it's going to go wrong.
The vast majority will, and that's fine. That's what it's about. And there's a quote which I read really early on in my music career, and I'm just so glad I read it. It's like, all poets write bad poems, only the bad ones publish them. And I think that's true to an extent. I think everyone publishes bad poems because, like, or bad things because it's trial and error. But the fundamental point there is that you're going to try shit, it's going to be bad, and that's okay. It's just an essential part of making anything.